All right, ladies and gentlemen, we start another conference of the National Electoral Committee. Judge Zabłocki and Judge Dauta will participate. Members of the Election Commission will provide you with the important information turnout. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are starting the last before the closing of the voting sites press conference. The next one will take place at 9:45 p.m. after the closing of the polling stations. I will give you a short overview of the conference. I will give you the announcement of the so-called election turnout calculated as at 5:30 p.m. Then Judge Dauta will inform you general terms about any incidents, if you like, or out of ordinary events that took place in connection with elections. And right after that, we will be at your service because you will have the need to make certain things more details, for example, concerning certain incidents. Let us begin with the announcement of the National Election Committee of November 16, 2014, about the number of the qualified voters and number of voters whom the ballots were issued by 5:30 in the elections for the municipal district council and regional parliaments and borough, towns and city mayors ordered for the 16th November 2014. Based on the data received from 25,883 precinct electoral commissions out of 25,949 precinct commissions. In the general precinct, the National Election Committee hereby informs that as at 5:30 p.m. on November the 16th, 2014, first, the number of qualified voters, that is, the number of persons put on electoral rolls in the precincts that the data were received from, was 30,356,100. Second, ballots were issued to 11,924,199. Correction, 11,924,199 qualified voters, which is 39.28% in relation to the number of qualified voters. Before we move to more detailed information on the breakdown by regions and large cities, I wish to inform you about what you are generally interested most, namely how that turnout compares with the turnouts of the previous elections. We can compare it precisely only to the elections of 2011, which was also a municipal election to various bodies of municipal authorities. As at 7 p.m., the turnout was 43.26%, but there was a major difference, namely the voting of 2010 was the voting carried out on the basis of the election law rather than election code, which carried the assumption that the polling stations would be open until 10 p.m. The election 2011 is also something to compare with. These were the polls or the elections to the Senate and Sejm, and we have the results of 6 p.m. Correction, says the speaker. It's not the data from 5:30, but from as at 6 o'clock, and the turnout was 59%. And we can compare it also with the European Parliament election based on the electoral code, voting between 7 a.m., 9 p.m., and the announcement as at 7:30 informed about the turnout 16.91%. That was the result of 2014. So much as regards comparative data, but let us come back to the data from 5:30 announcement. The voivodeship or province regional breakdown, you will receive the printout from all the regions. It will be rather boring if I now start to present the figures from all of them. Let me just limit myself to telling you about the highest and the lowest turnout regions. The highest turnout was in the Świętokrzyskie province, 46.19%. Podkarpackie province, 43.85%. And Lublin, Lubelskie, 42.93%. Małopolskie, Mazowieckie, Podlaskie, and Warmińsko-Mazurskie accounted for about 40%, while the lowest turnout at 5:30 were recorded in Śląskie, 35.29%, and in Dolnośląskie, 35.99%. When it comes to selected cities, the greatest turnout was in Rzeszów, 37.39, followed by Olsztyn, 37.15, and third, Gorzów Wielkopolski, 36.13. The lowest turnout, however, if I noted it well, was recorded in Zielona Góra, 24.39, in Wrocław, 26.66, and in Szczecin, 27.23%. All 11 cities of Poland, the data for them you will receive in the handouts. We should also report favorably of the small towns. The greatest turnout by 5:13 was recorded at the Koszarawa with over 70% of the turnout. That was the part of the announcement dealing with the turnout data at 5:30, and I emphasized that so many times because in the first part of my announcement, I realized a mistake was made. It is that the data come or are recorded as at 5:30, and we announced that. We made the announcement at 7 p.m. Now I give the floor to Judge Dauter, who will give you the overview of the whole situation at the polling station. As of January 15, 2014, so that is from the beginning of the electoral silence until 4 p.m. today, 454 incidents were recorded in relation to the elections. These incidents were mostly about tearing down posters, damaging and tearing down banners, placing banners in illegal places, commercials during the silence, label carrying, polling cards outside the polling stations, and many others. So most of these situations were related to incidents outside the polling stations. In a few cases, the incidents took place inside the polling stations. For example, in one of the polling stations, namely in Lemberg, the deputy chair apprehended a man who filled the ballots and went out carrying those cards. And due to her intervention, the man returned and placed or deposited them in the ballot box. Of course, there will be a problem as to whether such votes, such ballots remain valid, but this is up to the Commission to decide, because the man has remained during the entire incident in the field of view of the Commission members. Most of the incidents recorded deal with infringement of the electoral silence. At the polling stations, intoxicated people initiated brawls. In one case, the object of the brawl was the chairman of the Election Commission. Most of the incidents related, however, to taking the ballots out of the polling station. This happens in most cases when the electors are issued ballots and they immediately walk out with them. But from my information, it seems that the ballots never left the polling stations. The previous incidents were discussed at the previous press conference, so that's basically it from my part. And should you have any questions, please, I will be more than happy to answer them. Both judges, ladies and gentlemen, are now at your service. Please introduce yourselves before you ask your questions. Rafał Boniatowski, TVN24. I'd like to ask about the message that was seen at one of the social media announcements of PIS. We filed a claim against the legality of the elections, and how can the election committee respond to such a claim? A statement to the similar effect was received by fax at 5:15 today, 5:15 p.m. Immediately, we have consulted all the election commissioners in whose precincts the borough or precinct election commissions operate, which were mentioned, which were listed in that fax. So far, we have received only one response, namely from the Warsaw election commissioner, Dyrektor Ryłaczewska, who informed us that in a conversation with the deputy chairman of the precinct Commission 354, which was one of the commissions that the commissioner of PIS listed or mentioned as one in which certain violations are purported to have been committed. And it was informed that no situation was observed, that the ballots were incomplete or not compatible with the official sample. In the final part of the reply from the election commissioner from Warsaw, it has been said that during in the morning, certain ballots were put away as unused ballots. So maybe that message related to the non-issued ballots. In that case, no problem would have occurred. But every instance reported to us in that fax will be scrutinized because this is a very important thing. How many of those incidents were reported in the fax? The report, the incident report, which we received, speaks of 11 precinct commissions, including the one that I mentioned the moment ago, namely number 364. So I gave you the explanation concerning that Commission 364, and we are waiting for explanations from the remaining commissioners who are responsible for the remaining 10 election commissions listed in the facts by the plenipotentiary commissioner of PIS. TVN 24 SLD party informed that in the Lubuskie region there might have been violations concerning ballot box, 22 errors, erroneous cards, co-object, 1 erroneous or false wrong card. How many reports on the wrong cards were reported? For example, that the no party leader was put on the ballot and similar errors. How will those incidents be handled? Will that mean that the votes will be declared invalid? All right, let's put certain things straight. We received a signal that applied to one card, one ballot, that was not complete, incomplete. It was the district election ballot of one election committee. We have not received any other signals, but I understand that you refer to a more general problem, because sometimes you receive those signals much faster than we do. So let us begin with saying that to determine whether a given ballot is a valid ballot or invalid ballot is exclusively up to the precinct commission, election commission. Theoretically, you might ask the question, what happens in such and such circumstances? So we can reply also hypothetically, which at this moment is not the official statement by the National Election Committee, but an opinion of two judges who are sitting in front of you at this moment. I don't know if Judge Dauter would like to refer to that, but to me, thinking from the top of my head, so to speak, that if on a given ballot one of the electoral committees is not present, in which that should partake in the elections in that given precinct, such ballot should be declared invalid. But this is my private opinion, and the decision will be made by the precinct commissions. Of course, that decision will be subject to further scrutiny. I am of the same opinion as regards declaring ballots invalid, but
bo to niewątpliwie będzie miało wpływ na przedłużenie ciszy wyborczej.
since the fact will affect the extension of the election silence period. The Racibórz Precinct Commission decided to suspend the voting in the polling stations 19 and 20 and the county elections. That interruption took place between 11:40 to 20:30 and the other from 11:40 to 12:05. And that suspension resulted from the fact that wrong ballots were delivered. They came from a different election precinct. So in order to sort that out, the procedure of delivering ballots had to be resumed or renewed so that right ballots come to the right precinct commissions. What the judge said, this is an unfortunately true story. As far as I'm informed, the Commission has not decided yet as to whether to extend the voting time. Please put the news about the extension of the period of silence in parentheses, because this is a not confirmed statement. All right, we have now another question. Thank you. Edyta Poźniak, Polish Radio, Public Radio. I have a question on the wrong or erroneous ballots in Racibórz. I presume they have been issued, so the voters voted. And who is responsible? In other words, what the Commission do during the voting silence? Before the voting, shouldn't they perhaps be busy checking those cards, and who will be made responsible for such irregularities? Okay, according to the Electoral Codex, Electoral Code law, there is a whole procedure for transporting the ballots from the print shop to the polling stations. All that happens under supervision of the Commission. The ballot data are double-checked by two independent teams, one at the production site, and secondly, when they are delivered to the polling station. Further, the Commission, which opens the polling station earlier, verifies whether the ballots are all right. Unfortunately, incidents happen that, in spite of rather airtight verification system, it is only the voter who notices that certain electoral committees are absent on the cards, or the party leaders or members are put in illegible characters, or the names of the candidates are misspelled. That happens. And even though we put a lot of emphasis on the need to eliminate that, such things do happen. Right, the National Commission will verify all these cases to establish at which moment the irregularity occurred and what the consequences will be for the persons who are found responsible. It will depend on the person deemed responsible. If that is a member of the delegate office of the National Election Commission, there will be a direct possibility to make the consequences to bear, because in other cases the disciplinary actions by the National Election Commission is rather limited.
Można jeszcze dokładnie, dwa czy trzy zdania
Two or three sentences to that very detailed statement of the judge. Ladies and gentlemen, this is really sad what I'm going to say, but this is not a problem of only that election. That happens, I repeat, unfortunately, during every election. Given the size of the electoral effort, the probability calculation would really claim that such unfortunate events must happen, are unavoidable. Members of various electoral committees are seconded to the polling stations, to the precinct commissions. These commissions are supposed to check the cards at least an hour before the election begins. Unfortunately, despite all kinds of signals or instructions which alert people to the need of maintaining meticulous attitudes, the members are not responding, not complying in full. Next question may be at which level those irregularities can originate. That may be a problem of printing, of the print service, who authorized that printing, and why are those print jobs commissioned locally during the local elections. Yes, that happens. That is taking place under supervision of the competent election commissioner. But there may be various reasons for that. We noted one instance, one case, where the cards, as they were transported out of the print shop, several ballots went missing. You know that incident. So the only way out is then to make sure that those ballots that have not been officially stamped, because we know the ballots are just paper sheets and they become valid only after they have been stamped by the local or with the local election commission seal. If, however, a card that has been removed from that supervision, stolen or otherwise, third parties took possession of that ballot, that invalidates the card. All these news that we pass on to you now serve not to justify certain incidents and embellish that negative phenomenon. We are what we do, what we are doing. We are trying to explain what the possible reasons for such irregularities can be. Samus Pereira, Gazeta Polska Daily. I have a question about the election incidents. I misheard you. What is the difference when it comes to them between the election today and the elections of 2010? Could you give us some insight into what kinds of incidents were noted then, infringement of the election silence and others incidents in the polling stations? There was also an incident noted in the area of Sierpz, where the chairman was found placing ballots in the ballot box. What what should the commission members do about that? All right, thank you very much. My colleague judge will give you precise details. The incident is about one ballot rather than more, or multiple ballots. Nevertheless, this incident is as negative as it would have been otherwise. All right, indeed, such incident did happen in one of the precinct commissions, where a deputy chairman inserted in a ballot box an extra ballot. We don't know what ballot that was. Perhaps it was a valid ballot, if given that the member of the commission performed that or committed that act. This person was caught red-handed, so to speak. She confessed that indeed she were guilty. Police was contacted, and the criminal proceedings will be initiated against that person. At the same time, this person was dismissed from the commission because, according to the regular election regulations, the commission is obligated or obliged to dismiss that person or such a person from the commission. So far to this incident. Now, as far as other incidents are concerned which took place this year, their scale and the substance are rather comparable with what happened in 2010. As far as statistics are concerned, when it comes to the subject matter, from the police command center statistics, it seems that 71 incidents concerned tearing down posters, 31 tearing down banners, 5 destroying banners, improper place of putting banners, 25, violation of silence, 140, libel, 13, and others, 101. And I'd like to say that as much as the incidents subject to criminal law are concerned, they are less important from the election point of view, because there is no direct impact on that. But all incidents which are connected with the work of the Election Commission are much more important and significant, because every such an incident may result in a protest leading to declaring the elections invalid. But there is a long way to go before that happens, of course, but I'm talking about borderline cases. We must not give any binding opinions pertaining to the incidents, because when we're talking of the incidents which occurred, which are occurring right now, only courts can mete out the verdicts. We cannot define or determine the effect or impact of given incidents on the results of the voting. I would like to drill down. There are many reports on ballots missing or the duplication of voting lists, missing names, which resulted in filing election protests. What kind of information do you have when it comes to the incidents that impact the voting most? For example, insertion of extra ballots, or missing electors on the lists, or any kind of similar incidents. Do you have any details? Let me come back to the questions that were asked already. The data which we have were presented already, and they are related to the facts from the plenipotentiary Sobolewski. One of the incidents has been explained according to the letter by the director of the election office in Warsaw.
Wszystkie pozostałe, czyli 10 pozostałych,
All others,
pamiętacie Państwo tam
that is
11
10,
pozycji, są w toku wyjaśniania.
because the facts was about 11 incidents, are still in the process of being sorted out.
To moje stwierdzenie, że to wyłącznie sąd
My
w
statement
procesowej
is
a
that
każdy
it is
z tych
up to
wypadków
the
rozpatrzyć
court to
i,
decide about
potem
individual,
ocenić.
all individual
Proszę
cases.
Państwa, wyobraźmy sobie tę sytuację,
Let's
która została w
imagine
sposób niewątpliwy,
the incident that
wychwycona,
was
mianowicie tę sytuację
reported correctly,
dorzucenia jednego
namely
głosu
the
przez
incident
panią
of putting an extra ballot
odsunięta od pracy tej komisji.
into the ballot box by that
Otóż
deputy
się okazało,
chair.
nie wiemy, w
who
jakim
was
to jest
dismissed.
głosowaniu, czy w tym głosowaniu,
We don't know, however, in
jest wprowadzone
what
w
voting
systemie
that
proporcjonalnym,
card
czy to chodzi
pertained to,
o
whether it's a
głosowanie
proportional
parlamentaryjnym,
system
większościowym.
or a
Załóżmy
majority
sobie
system.
teoretycznie,
Let's
większościowym,
theoretically
prawda?
assume that this voting
Jeżeli się
is
okazało,
in
że
the
ten jeden
or
jedyny
under
głos
the majority
zaważy
system. If
na wyniku
there is a conviction that this extra
wyborów w tym
ballot
sensie, że o jeden tylko głos
would
różniłaby
matter
się
in terms
liczba
that
głosów
the
oddanych
number
na
of
osobę,
votes
która
cast
zajmuje pierwsze
on a
i
person
drugie
that
miejsce
is
przy
that are
zliczeniu wszystkich głosów. To wiadomo, że
on
ten jeden
place
głos
1 and 2,
może mieć wpływ
and the
na
difference is
wynik.
1,
Natomiast jeżeli
then
ta
the
różnica jest o wiele większa, to jeżeli jest
ballots
tylko jeden
will
głos
be
wątpliwości,
determined
co
to
do
have
wadliwości
impacted
jednego głosu,
the outcome
jednej
of
karty.
the
Nie
polls.
można
Now,
mówić
if
o
there are
możliwości
doubts
wpływu.
about
Tak, proszę
one
Państwa, to
ballot
oczywiście podaję
in
w
other
takim,
circumstances, we
wielkim,
cannot have any doubts as
uproszczeniu,
to the
sprowadzając rzecz
outcome of the
do,
elections as a whole.
bardzo takiego uchwytnego dla
So
każdego z
I'd like
nas,
to use that explanation
przykładu.
to
Ale tak, każdy
pass
wypadek
my opinion
musi być
on
pod tym
that
kątem rozważany
incident,
pod
but
procedurą
every
testowej, jeśli oczywiście
incident
zostanie
needs to
złożony.
be considered in a
Nic się
similar
nie
way
dzieje
in
z
the
urzędu. Wszystko
protest
musi się dziać w procedurze
proceedings,
protestowej.
because everything needs to be preceded by a protest.
Jeżeli będzie Pani redaktor miał Pan konkretne przykłady, to ja je bardzo proszę na skrzydło.
Right. Please send me your incidents report to my mailbox, so we'll try to sort them out
Czy były
for
takie
you.
przypadki poważne, bo tutaj mówimy rzeczywiście o jednym
Were
głosie,
there any
takie, że na przykład listy brakowało
more serious cases,
w
for example,
komitecie,
that
w jakiejś
the
komisji,
lists
której,
were missing
nie wiem,
in
wyborcy
a polling
było na tyle
station
dużo,
where
żeby
there were
dane listy mógł
enough
w jakiś sposób spłynąć i już żeby
voters
uzyskać
where
mikrofon,
that missing list might have impact
jeśli chodzi o łamanie ciszy wyborczej w internecie.
the
Czy
election
PKW w
results.
jakiś
And
sposób,
the other question is about
ma
violating
jakąś taką,
the electoral silence in the
nie powiem
internet.
instrukcję, ale
Did
odpowiedź, jeśli
the
chodzi o to,
Commission
co jest
have
łamaniem tej ciszy,
any
co nie, bo
instruction or
co roku
definition as
z
to
każdym
what
rokiem chyba coraz więcej
what the
pytań,
definition
wersji,
of
coś mógł
that silence relation is about?
All
All right, with regards to the second question, I'll give the floor to Mr. Dauter. Probably the answer will be the same as that one given by Judge Kisielewski on Friday. But now back to the first question. In the light of what Judge Dauter said, I would give you the following reply, giving an example, because as I said, every incident needs to be handled separately. We have a report, for example, that in one of the commissions, a voter reported
Mówiłem o tym na pytanie pani redaktor, pokazując kartę do głosowania w wyborach na radnych do
showing
powiatu, która nie zawierała
borrow
listy jednego
election
z
card,
komitetów.
ballot, in which one of the
Otrzymał w tym momencie kartę.
electoral committee list was missing. He was issued a valid ballot. The problem, however, will surface, will show up after the ballot box is opened, because we may as well see that this only ballot which was reported by the elector was affected. It will be much worse if it is found out that there will be multiple such faulty cards. Only then a problem will come up, and We will need to establish how many those cards are affected and how does that refer to the outcome of the elections. I'm not sure what your opinion is, editor, as to whether the electoral silence should be maintained or not. In my opinion, even though this silence is infringed, and since of the fact that internet is there's no way to prevent such incidents from happening. I am of the opinion, personally, that there's a moment of thinking for the voters as to on whom to vote is very important. I understand that the opinions amongst the population are divided. Some say that since the silence cannot be made effective, there is no point in declaring it in the first place. But in my opinion, that rule of electoral silence is fine.
Organy państwowe, które zajmują się
State bodies which enforce law have been monitoring it. So, in consequence, they initiate certain actions. So we cannot comment any actions which are in the merit of other, in the remit of other state bodies. Infringement of electoral silence and committing punishable acts is non-permitted. So every kind of such incident should be reported to the police. I will ask one question which is quite specific on behalf of all the editors who prepare for the 2100 News. If a decision is made that the voting should be extended in one of the commissions, will the silence be also extended? No, this will probably apply to that affected precinct. We are not going to extend the silence or the voting time, in fact, in other towns, just in those in which that incidents or those incidents happened. So I think this is good news. Hopefully we will not have to ponder on whether to extend or not the electoral silence in any of the precincts. Are there any questions? Polish Press Agency, please. I just wanted to make sure, since you gave the names of the election committees concerning the incidents, are we allowed to give the names of those commissions away in public? All right, we inform about the incidents. When it comes to incidents, there are no elements encouraging or disparaging for voting on certain electoral committees. It is similar as if we were thinking about, are we aware, are we allowed to announce what electoral committees participate in the voting nationwide? Such informations have already been stated, announced, so you can rest assured. But if you want to be even more prudent than the members of the election commission, please refrain from stating the names of the voting or electoral committees, and restrain yourselves to informing about the incident itself. All right, thank you very much. The next conference will take place at 9:45 after the closing of the polling stations. Thank you And I also thank both judges for coming.
My również dziękujemy bardzo Państwu.
We
Zapraszamy na
thank
godzinę
you, and please
21:45.
join us 9:45. Thank you.